One time I got called in to speak with a married couple who were having some difficulties. What was their problem? The guy was extremely cheap with his family. He would not spend any money on his wife or children. When I pulled him aside and said, "Why is that so?" He said, "Rabbi, look, when I grew up, we were very poor. My father was consumed with money, extremely frugal, and basically he passed that craziness on to me, and I can't get past it." Now, there's a lot of issues going on over here, but certainly this fellow has basically two choices. Either he can live in the restriction and fear and worry of his past, or he can break out of it and he can become a little more generous with his wife and children and probably live a pretty decent life. What's interesting is many times people feel trapped in how they grew up, and that is not a Jewish value. When you look into the development of the Jewish people, in this week's Parsha, Parsha Toldos, we read, "And these are the offspring of Isaac, the son of Abraham. Abraham begat Isaac. Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah, the daughter of Bethuel the Aramean from Padan Aram, sister of Laban the Aramean, as a wife for himself." Now what's interesting is we know who Rebekah is. We know who her father is, we know where she's from, and we know who her brother is. As a matter of fact, if you're a person who comes to synagogue on Saturday mornings, you'll know that last week we spent a lot of time talking about Rebekah and her family, and next week we will spend even more time talking about it. Why does the Torah have to repeat where she's from, who her father is, and who her brother is? Rashi, the 11th century commentator, explains that all of this was in praise of Rebekah. See, she grew up knowing that her father was wicked, her brother was wicked, and her society around her was wicked. And she rejected all of those values. She said, "I don't want to be like them. I want to be a giving, kind individual." And it's precisely for that reason that every Friday night we bless our daughters to grow up and be just like Rebekah, their foremother. Years ago, a friend of mine calls me up and says, "Rabbi, you'd be so proud of me. I'm spreading the word." I go, "What'd you do?" He said, "Well, I called up my friend from college and I asked him, 'Why don't you keep kosher?' And you know what he said to me? He said, 'Tell me.' He said, he goes, 'I grew up not keeping kosher. I didn't grow up religious and I'm not religious now.'" So my friend responded to him saying, "Well, that's fine when you're growing up and you're 13 years old. Or maybe when you're 20 years old in college. But my goodness, you're 30 years old, you're a lawyer, you're married, you have a kid. When are you going to take responsibility for yourself and stop living in the past with the restrictions that your family put on you?" That's a very wise comment, what my friend said to the other person. Why are you being stuck in the past? Why do you insist on letting the restrictions of your upbringing continue through as you are now bringing up children of your own? The Jewish value is we start today from the beginning to have the best life we can. 2,000 years ago, Hillel said, "If I am not for myself, who will be for me? If I am only for myself, what am I? And if not now, when?" These are words that we should all live with every single day. We know in Judaism we are born alone, we die alone. What we make of this world is up to us. And we have to start today to make our lives as best possible. So if you grew up and you're in a home that was, well, not the most peaceful place, or you had worries or fears, maybe you grew up in a way that it just wasn't optimal, and today you're not the happiest, kindest person you could be, push the reset button, take the words of Hillel and say, "If I am not for myself, who will be for me? And if not now, when?" Start living your best life right now. I'm Rabbi Wyne, the Young Israel Aish of Las Vegas.